Hello, my name is Opal Singleton. I am the president and CEO of an organization called Million Kids. So, welcome to the Million Kids Protect and Prevent podcast. Well, I want to talk to you about something very important that I've been thinking about for some time. As many of you know that follow our organization, we are dedicated to keeping kids safe from predators. That's big kids and little kids, by the way, and even adults. And I today want to talk to you about an important discussion that you should have with your son about financial sextortion. So I'm suggesting to you that you might want to have a different kind of conversation than maybe you normally do or that you've had in the past. Now, I know that talking to teenagers about social media can be a source of contention. Maybe you've had a little tug of war in the past, or you've gone through their phone and they're using something you don't approve of, and they're always being defensive, look, I'm going to know if I'm in trouble, that kind of thing. So I get that it can be a difficult conversation. But I want to talk about maybe having a different kind of social media conversation. Maybe it's something where the two of you sit down when, everything is calm and cool and you don't have a lot of conflict going, and just share with them that I know that we've had these conversations in the past, but I heard something the other day that I really want to share with you, and I want to get your feedback. I want your perspective on it. You've been using social media and online technology for quite a while, and I already know that you're smarter than me at most of it because it's changing so fast and you live in that world. Now, I am not a dummy. I understand it, but it is really, really changing fast. I'm so proud of you. I believe in you. I trust your judgment. I know that you would never knowingly do something that might cause yourself harm or grief, or maybe some grief for the rest of the family. I know you well enough that you would not do that. But I've heard something different lately, and I want your perspective. So let's talk about this. I want to talk about the crime of sextortion. Now, you know it, and I know it. Basically, that's a combination of the word sex and extortion. You probably already know people at school or kids that are being blackmailed with a photo or something that, um, got online that maybe shouldn't have been online. All of us have been dealing with the crime of sextortion ever since we've been online. It's not a new subject. And it's interesting because I know that you think that you're going to be able to recognize if you're about to be catfished or if you're maybe talking to a bad guy. I think that you will do that. And, I trust you. I know that you don't want to be blackmailed, but something different is going on in sextortion. What I heard the other day, I want to share with you. And it's an interesting idea because it's not really new. And yet it is new in the sense that most of us don't realize what is happening. So, from what I heard, long about 2022, the entire world began to be connected by 5G high speed internet. We hear about it all the time. Up until now, we had it in the US and probably the UK or Australia and, throughout Europe. But now it's going to all kinds of countries all over the world. In fact, what I heard was about 70% of the world is now connected online. And I want to think a minute about how different that was maybe when you first went on, maybe 2, 3 years ago. Even 3 years ago, it was mostly people that we knew that were online with us. But now I am told there are up to 5.5 billion people online. And the apps that you and I are so familiar with, like Roblox or Discord or Instagram, Snapchat, all of those, they literally have millions, and in some cases, hundreds of millions of simultaneous users. On Discord, for instance, it's well over 100 million users. So it's not like it was like when you first went online. On top of it, we've had some new technologies that have come out that are really amazing stuff, but you don't think about what it means when the entire world has these same technologies. So let's talk about like geolocation software. I heard of a sextortion case, and this young man said to his mom, they knew everything about us. They knew exactly where I lived and where I was at the time. And they had a picture of you and where you work. And they had a picture of us and the house. And they had a picture of my own bedroom. Well, what was happening there is their house had been on Zillow and the realtor hadn't taken it down. Mom is an executive at a corporation, so she has a LinkedIn account, and whatever they're on had geolocation software. So whoever they were talking to knew everything about them. So one of the things I want to suggest for you and I is to understand what's online about us, not just you, but me and mom and your brothers and sisters. I think one of the things we need to do is sit down and figure out what other people know about us. And I'd like to make a project out of it for the whole family about who all can tell what is on the internet about us. I'll tell you why that's so important. Because when you go online and you're contacted by somebody you don't know, which happens regularly, one of the first things is, how do you know who you're talking to, if they are who they say they are? Now, if I understand this right, most of you, if you're talking to someone you don't know, you'll say, well, I only talk to people I know, or I talk to friends of a friend. But the thing of it is now is that anybody can look like they know you because they build a profile. So we have geolocation software, we have global money transfer. So what I'm starting to hear now is that as these entire world is connected, and now it's only 70%, that many of these countries are very poor and they are full of criminals and crime because of the poverty, because of the particular political environment. That means that literally what can happen here is criminals from all over the world start to see people in the United States as being wealthy. Well, quite frankly, we are compared to a lot of places. But they start to say, wait a minute, I have online communication, I have high speed internet, I have geolocation software, I have artificial intelligence. I can build a profile of those people and I can begin to look like somebody that knows them. One of the things I want to share, and I think is important for parents to share with kids, is this is a little bit scary, but it is a major opportunity. And I hope that this generation of young people realize the historic position that they're in. And I hope that you, mom and dad, realize the historic position you're in as parents. On the one hand, it's a little bit terrifying. On the other hand, it presents a tremendous opportunity to change the world with your place in history. You see, you are the parents of the first generation in all the world that is globally connected. Your kid is the first generation in all of history. If you think of all the things that happened in life, I kind of think of it as when they discovered cars or when they discovered the computer. Well, this is the first generation that has all of that, but they are totally connected to more than 5.5 billion people. Before it's over, it'll be over 7 billion people. That is a tremendous opportunity for leadership. It is a tremendous opportunity for knowledge. This generation of kids will have more knowledge and access to more information and education, free education online than any generation before them. But they are also the first generation that can be exploited by people from all over the world. And I think that this is a call to leadership for your son and your daughter. And I think it's important to have that conversation about that. Because what is happening now is that people from Myanmar and Nigeria and Ivory Coast and Pakistan, now there are many good people in those countries. However, there are also, it's a very poor country and it's full of criminals who think this is the way to make money is to come into a child's life, look like they know them, and then begin to exploit them so that they send money. And that is exactly what is happening. What has happened in the last, let's say 24 to 36 months is more than 40 young guys have taken their own life. And, this is really, really important to understand. What happens is the young guys that have done this, and I highly encourage you, mom and dad, to look these up and go to YouTube. I'm going to give you some names of the people. Their families want you to read about this and learn about their child. They have lost their child and they never again want to lose another child. So we want all of you to know about this. So what has happened here is that as the entire world connected, the criminal groups in some of these foreign countries have learned that they can build a profile of a young person. It's not hard to do. And this is why I suggest to you as a family that you sit down as a family and you build your own profile. Because what is happening is they are targeting the kids that are the best kids out there, the kids that have the most information about them. Kids that are homecoming kings and kids that have won an award, or they're big sports jocks of some sort, or they're being recruited by a team, or they're getting a scholarship, or they've won a contest of some sort. They use AI to build a profile of their victim so that they can come online and look like your child's new best friend. Well, guess what? The criteria that your son and daughter are using to accept new friends is they know me already. They know something about me, number one, and they already know all my friends. Well, that's what's happened is people in foreign countries have built a profile of your child, and they're coming on to your child in a weak moment. Maybe they've just won a sports game, a soccer game or something, or maybe they've got a bad grade in school. Whether it's good or bad, they get them in a weak moment. And suddenly they look like a hot 14-year-old or 17-year-old. Now, keep in mind with artificial intelligence, they can look like anybody. And they will come on and they'll start to flirt. And your kid is very impressed and they start to flirt back. And this person that's contacted him, it looks like somebody they already know. And they go back and forth and they know their friends. And the next thing you know is they want a nude. Do you know that 1 out of 6 kids in America, 1 out of 6 male teenagers and young people have sent a nude online, and 1 out of 7 girls? Well, they may have gotten away with that in the past, but a nude online in a globally connected world in the age of artificial intelligence is absolutely the most dangerous situation your child can ever be in. And that's exactly what is happening. And we want to really help your young person understand. I think it's important that we change the tone between the parent and the teenager in these discussions, that they began to see the world in a different light, especially the world that is now online. This is so important because only 70% of the world is connected yet. Just imagine as that next 30% comes online. This is going to get crazier and crazier because they're very poor people, but they have sophisticated technology that puts them right into your child's bedroom. And they have learned that if you can blackmail an American kid, they'll fork over a few $100 and in some cases thousands. I know one case where the kid paid $8,000 and they're still blackmailing you. So we're going to talk about what to do if your child becomes a victim, but your child, nor do you, ever will have enough money to pay these people off. By the way, they don't just target our kids. They target grandmas and grandpas and lonely widowers and lonely divorcees in romance scams. If you want to learn more about that, go to YouTube and put in scam farms and romance scams and listen to the stories. It is a lot more prevalent than you ever notice, because what will happen is that these people are cartels that are looking to get money sent online. Well, guess what? Our kids are the first to know how to send money online. And they've been doing it for a long time in your Discord, in your platforms. And so cartels have figured out if they can look like a hot 14-year-old and catch the kid in a weak moment and get something they can work with. Maybe it isn't a complete nude. Maybe it's just a topless shot or something like that. Anything they can get, they can work with AI. So it's important that your child understand how this changed, and it's important that all of you as a family take this on together. Make a project to find out what they know about you online, and maybe you want to start to take some of that stuff down where you're not so exposed online. But you also need to talk about the fact of why you never want to pay them off if you find yourself in trouble. You see, your child doesn't even have to send a nude now. They can use artificial intelligence, and your child may be blackmailed in the future, and they never sent a thing. And your child's panicking because nobody believes them. They're going, well, that's not me. That's not me. Okay, that's my head, but that's not my body. I never sent a nude. And who is going to believe them? Life has changed in the world of artificial intelligence and global online connection. So you need to have these conversations. And part of that conversation needs to be, I hope you're never a victim. I hope I'm never a victim. I hope your mom isn't ever a victim, or your little brothers and sisters. But we're going to have a pact here that, number one, we're going to start to protect ourselves online. We're going to protect ourselves as a family. And we're going to look out for each other if something happens. So what has happened here is, if you begin to go onto YouTube, I'm going to give you some names. And this is all at millionkids.org, by the way. These are some of the names of some of the most incredibly fine, outstanding young males that took their life when they got in trouble. And in every case, these are heartbreaking cases. You can't really read more than one or two a day. Your heart just bleeds for the family. These are kids that are cream of the crop. I mean, they are super accomplished, very intelligent, exceptionally mature, extremely fine young people. But in every one of the cases, the parents said, I never heard of financial sextortion, especially of young males. That's got to change. Mom and Dad, if you're listening to this podcast, please let us educate you, and please use your sphere of influence to tell everyone you know, in your church, in your synagogue, in your your groups that you belong to, maybe sorority, your country club. Share this news with everyone. You see, it's a conversation just like you and I are having. I know that maybe in the past you were able to send a nude and you got away with it. Hopefully you haven't, but if you did, I get it, okay? But I hope that you understand after this conversation that all of us as a family have to approach this differently. I'm going to put away my wagging finger, okay? Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to give you rules, and I'm not going to occasionally check your phone, and I am going to have all your apps, because I want the best for you. I don't want you to get in trouble. But I also want you to know that it's all changed, and we got to stand together as a family against this. So go to YouTube, put in teen suicide, and put in or teen sextortion and suicide. Let's try that. Here's some names. Tevin Tobler, Tobler. His first name was Tevin, T like Tom, E, V like Victor, A-M. Incredible young man. I think he was like 17, I'm not sure, but he was extremely accomplished. No one, even his parents, after he took his life, it was a week or two before it even occurred to them to check his phone. If you find your family in a crisis, please check the young person's phone. This young man just got lured into sending a photo. He is the kind of young man who normally never, ever would have done it. But within almost instance of sending that photo, he received 1,000 texts in a 24-hour period. Now, I'm doing this from memory, but I think his perpetrators were in the Ivory Coast. Imagine losing your son to an Ivory Coast telemarketing criminal operation. And so look up Tevin Tobler. Look up James Wood, Wood. Amazing man. I think he was like 6'2", very accomplished sports star. I think he was in track. His parents go out to high schools and they talk to teenagers, and that's online what they say. Maybe your son or daughter might want to listen to that. I am going to tell you it's hard to listen to even for a trained professional. They are hurting people. They were the first to say that young man never left the house once that I didn't tell him I loved him. I was absolutely sure that if he got himself in trouble, he would have come and told. Look up the story of Jordan DeMay. In Jordan DeMay, that is D-E, last name M-A-Y. Now, they have gone to Nigeria and they have arrested and prosecuted his perpetrators. That will not bring Jordan back. What an amazing young kid, extremely popular, homecoming king, a sports star, everybody's favorite son. And he was one of the very first. Look up Evan McDaniel, McDaniel. Look up Riley Basford. It's Rilebasford. And look up Ryan Last. Ryan Last was 17 years old, a very astute young man. He was a 4-H person. No one would have ever guessed that he could be lured into this situation or that it would end so tragically. This was 4 men from the Ivory Coast plus a California-based perpetrator. The reason I want you to do that is I want you to be able to understand how urgent this is that you have this conversation with your young people. What they need to understand is at this point in time, because the world is globally connected, because all the information about you is out there and online, they can look like a friend of a friend. They can name off all your friends if your Instagram followers and your TikTok followers are not private. Anybody can come through and go, oh, I know Jane, I know Bob, I know these people. They're just reading the list. And on top of it, they have the profile. They know all about your last game and everything that was on there. Okay. So one of the conversations needs to be that in the past, you might have gotten away, or someone you know has gotten away with sending a nude. But today, I want you to look at it differently. Anybody who wants your nude online, or even in person, quite frankly, is not your friend, because it makes you absolutely vulnerable for blackmail. You cannot prove who they are. If somebody starts trying to send you a nude, that's not an invitation to return one. I want you to think about it this way. It's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. Run, baby, run. It's a trap. Get out there. It is somebody that is looking for the ability to bring you down. So don't give them that ability. If they start doing that, just hang up, go away, block them, have no more communication. But here's the problem with that. You and your child need to know that if you've connected with someone like that, that they will come back looking like somebody else. These people are technology geniuses. They are prepared to come back and again and again and again and to begin to threaten you and to try to bring you down. So if you find yourself in that trap, here's the deal. I know you and I have had conflict over these things in the past. But as of today in this conversation, I'm going to look at it different too. I know you. I believe in you. I trust you. And I know you're too darn smart to do anything that would bring you down or your family down. So if you find yourself in trouble, even if you did it, okay, even if you did the most stupid thing in your whole life, I want you to trust me enough to come to me and tell me. Do not do anything stupid, okay? Like consider running away or taking your life or any of that kind of thing. I promise you, I can't always be perfect. I'll do my best not to scream and yell and wag my finger. I will do my very best to be the partner that you're looking for me to be, to stand against this global technology that might be causing you pain. So let's think about that. Many people will be blackmailed in the future. I might be blackmailed as a parent, your mom, your dad, your aunts, especially at school. So I also want to talk to you about digital empathy. If somebody is being blackmailed at school, I want you to understand that their very life is at stake. Not only are they humiliated and embarrassed, and there will be those idiots at school that insist on bullying them, but I'm going to count on you to have some digital empathy. They may not be guilty at all, or they may have screwed up. Either way, they're going to need assistance. And so, by being able to come to someone like an adult and ask for help, we can take this on. You know, I also want you to think about your long term digital reputation and digital morality. This global connection means that your digital reputation will be out there for the rest of your life, including when you might be being recruited, either for a school or a sports team, or maybe you're dating somebody and you really want to marry them, and you certainly don't want your future mother in law looking at your nude photo from when you were 17. So we have to think these out. You are part of the most important generation that's ever lived. You are the first generation in all of history to have this much privilege and this much responsibility. It's a little bit like when they first got cars and kids learned to drive them, but then every now and then some made some bad choices. Well, you have an incredible opportunity because you're the first young people to live in this globally connected world with artificial intelligence, with deep fakes, with geolocation software, with money transfer. You have access to more knowledge, more opportunity, more chances to excel than anybody has ever had. And yet you will be exposed to more criminals who will look like your new best friend or some hot 14-year-old honey that will get your attention. So somehow, even though you're smarter than me at technology, somehow we got to get you ready for that. So here's what I want to do. I want you and I to develop a code word for us, and it's for the whole family, including grandma and grandpas. Remember, they will also target lonely people, single people, widowed people, divorced people. So get a code word between you and your family so that if someone's being blackmailed and they're suggesting that someone in the family is being harmed, you can know if it's each other. And you may want to get a code word between your best friends so that if somebody comes on and says they're a friend of a friend, then you say, fine, what's the code word? I'll get back to you once I talk to them. I would like to sign a contract between us. And that contract says that every app you have, I'm going to have, although you know better than I that you can get around it if you choose to. I know that you can do that, but I'm also believing that you're the better person that won't. I want you to sign that you will never knowingly do anything to cause harm to yourself or your family online, including sending a nude or even a partial nude. That you now understand how dangerous that is and that you will never knowingly do that. That doesn't mean you won't be a victim of a deep fake, but that you will never knowingly do that. I want you to promise me that no matter what, you will never, ever, ever go out and meet up with someone you met online. And finally, I want you to sign on this contract that if you find yourself in a situation, maybe you're guilty, maybe you're not, maybe you're just a little guilty, okay? Maybe you didn't mean it, maybe you didn't understand. But whatever it is, you will trust me enough to come to me and we will talk it out. We'll figure out how to deal with it. And you will do your best to help them resolve it. Now, parents, I'm going to close this out. I'm a little over my time today, but I want to make something very clear. If your child comes to you and they're in trouble, first of all, stay calm. Do not be accusatory. Do not start screaming and yelling, I told you so, blah, blah, blah. They need more than ever to hear that you believe in them, that you trust them. You're not going to grab that phone and scream and yell. Okay. Do not go on and alert the perpetrator that you know what is going on. That is not a good thing to do. Stay out of it. Do not, what I'm going to tell you first is to screenshot any information they give you. If possible, do not yourself as a parent look at a nude photo of your child online, but get your child to screenshot it or give it to you. Do not delete all of that, but shut down the device, walk away from the device, take the device and the screenshots and your child and go directly to your cyber crimes unit at your local law enforcement. It's important that you do it quickly because if your child can do this, they may not be able to, number one, find the perpetrator, but they may be able to save a lot of other kids. And then I'm going to suggest all of you get counseling. If it was a successful thing where they talked with you and didn't do something crazy, rejoice in that. I can tell you there are 40-some parents who would give everything they own if they could just have their child back. And if they had a chance one more time, they would have this conversation. But every one of them has said they have never heard of financial sextortion. I'm going to ask you to be a leader and help us tell everyone you know at your church, at your community, at your country club, at your sorority, your fraternity, whatever you're part of. This word has to spread quickly. Never again should we lose a precious young person because nobody heard the word financial sextortion. My name is Opal Singleton. If you want to write to me, I would be happy to hear from you. Write to me at Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org, MILLION kids, KIDS.org, Opal at millionkids.org. I hope you'll share this podcast with everyone you know. I want it around the world as fast as it can. And I hope you'll have that precious conversation with your son, especially. By the way, there's nothing wrong with daughters either, but I am concerned because so many precious young men have taken their life. Never again can we lose a precious young child because nobody understood what this was about. Thank you for listening. This is heavy stuff. Be good to yourself today, okay, after listening to that, but spread the word. Thank you. See you next time on the next podcast.